Aloha, Soul Family. Welcome to our end of days, and that's DAZE. As usual, the footage is raw, unedited, just one continuous stream, so we'll just see kind of what happens. And, if you like it, give me likes. If you want to subscribe, I'd absolutely love that. And with that said, I don't really have a script, so we're just going to kind of go into it. One of the things that I really enjoy talking about and kind of defining is something which a lot of people end up talking about through spiritual circles, but it's not very well understood, I think, in some ways. And if anything, I'm just putting out more of my own definitions, my own experiences to help people validate their own experiences. Is what I'm doing. I'm not telling you how it is, and I don't want you to just take what I'm saying, on faith. If anything, what I'm saying will resonate with you because it's validating your own experiences and it's awakening those aspects, maybe some of those experiences you've had yourself that were either dismissed or not validated by other sources. So I'm just going to kind of get into it and make it very clear cut too. Before I get into that, one of the things I like to say on my channel is there's only one absolute. There it is. That's it. So in another way of saying, like I said before, take everything I say with a grain of salt. And I'll even, later on in the video, I'll show you what I'm talking about here as well. Because I'll get into it later. I'll just get into it later. So without further ado, let's talk about the paths, guys. Now, in some more esoteric circles, people have called it like the Black Lodge and the White Lodge. Maybe that's a little bit of Twin Peaks stuff there for you, but I'm going to use different terminology. And this is the best way that it was somewhat presented to me, but a lot of this is my own interpretation. A lot of this is stuff that I've engineered from scratch, essentially. And I've taken, bits and pieces from here and there. So we'll get into that. There's the path of good, and there's the path of evil. And the easier way to say this or define it is there's the path of ignorance, and then there's the path of awareness. And so we can say the path of awareness is leading us toward a greater amount of consciousness and awareness. And the path of ignorance is leading us to greater levels of unconsciousness and unawareness. And it's somewhat of a just kind of, it is what it is. And as people see it and we define, good and evil in these kind of terms, it becomes more of like an understanding. It's more of like a cause and effect kind of a thing. And it starts to make more sense. One of the videos I don't know if I posted it yet. I might do it or I might not. Talks about the concept of obedience. All right. And the framing that I have of obedience is obedience just is. All right. Even if we say, you need to be a free thinker, you need to think for yourself and question everything, then one is being obedient to those virtues and those thought forms, all right? They're being obedient to the idea that one needs to be a free thinker, all right? And so in this context, what I'm really talking about, what other circles have talked about as well, obedience is attention. What we're paying attention to is also what we're giving energy to, what we're being obedient to. And so when we come from this angle, everything starts to make a lot more sense, all right? And so in a very real way, when we are being obedient, let me take that back. We're being obedient no matter what. And so when we're being obedient from a place of awareness, it is wholly different than being obedient from a place of ignorance or unconsciousness. And this is essentially why I would almost say in universal terms and creationary terms or whatever you want to call it, it's considered good and evil. All right. And the terms that I'm using, as someone else told me these things and I love it. All right. I absolutely love it. And so I'll just kind of share with you where, good, it's like, these are like archery terms in a very real way. We're good. All right. You aim your arrow, right? And bam, you hit the target, you hit the bullseye, you did good, right? Very good. All right, let's say I take the arrow. All right, well, I didn't hit the mark. It wasn't exactly what I was going for, but you know, it, it wasn't a bullseye. All right, I had room to improve, so that was a sin. All right, I didn't quite make it. Now, let's say I aim my arrow, let it fly, and then it doesn't even hit the target. It goes way out of bounds. All right, that's evil. I wasn't even close. All right, and so using this terminology, we can be following on the good path and constantly sin, but because we're aiming for, we're actually hitting the target, even if it's not the bullseye, even if it's not where we want to be aiming, but we're still getting close to aiming. That is infinitely better than not hitting the target at all. All right, not even aiming for the target. And so this is also why this leads to the discussion of what is evil. All right, and to some degree, I talked about it with my previous video, with one of my previous videos. All right, some of the videos I put out, some of them I haven't yet. And getting back on the subject, right? The evil path is the path of ignorance. All right, and what this really means is that I am not even really aiming for the target. And this goes back into the concept I was talking about before, obedience. All right, where if we're going in this lane, let's just say I'm arrows and I'm shooting my arrows no matter what. All right, arrows are just happening because that's my obedience, that's my attention. All right, whatever I'm paying attention to is my aim. And so if I'm not even aiming for the target, then I'm still using my obedience. I'm still aiming and I'm still having arrows fly. And those arrows end up being our experiences, all right? And so I guess let's talk about the good path first, all right? Let's talk about the path of consciousness. Now, ironically enough, even though I would say on a soul level, it's the path that we're created from, and it's the path that we all eventually return to, it's also, from the context that I'm at least seeing the earth plane and the earth world, the construct, whatever you want to call it, the creation, it's almost the more difficult path and the least, and the less traveled path, at least at the moment, where the evil path seems to be the wider road, the more common path that people are taking. And we'll just kind of leave that at that, because and I'll liken it to a story here. All right, and so this story is what it is, you guys. I could probably improve it in some ways, but we'll just kind of go with it. Where here's a fire, all right, and this fire is like life. It's energy, all right. When I am going on the path of awareness, when I am walking down this path and being conscious, this fire is I'm going to have a different relationship and a different experience of this fire than I would if I'm on the path of ignorance or unconsciousness. And I'll tell stories, right? Metaphors, parables to kind of explain what I mean here. When I am choosing consciousness, when I'm even if I'm having difficulty or sinning, I'm still being aware that I'm aiming. And so I continue to aim for that bullseye, for that consciousness, for the truth. And if I'm on the evil path, I'm not even worried about that. My goals are very different when I'm on the evil path of ignorance, all right? And so in the context of this fire, it's burning right here in front of me, the symbolic fire, right? Right? I have my hand right here. I stick my hand in the fire, all right? Ow! Ooh, it burns. Burns my hand, all right? Being conscious, I'm aware of that pain, and I will ask the right questions. I'll focus my attention on all of what's going on, my hand, the fire, and I'll be able to put together certain things. Maybe it'll take me a few times, all right? But I will come to a reasonable conclusion a lot sooner, like infinitely sooner, than if I am living in ignorance, all right? So I stick my hand in that fire, I'm going to eventually put it together here. That, okay, the fire burns. It's hot, it burns. It is what it is. That fire, it burns, all right? Me sticking my hand in that fire, it's going to burn my hand and it's not going to feel good. And so since I have this consciousness now, I have this awareness of the fire, I can have a relationship with the fire. Since it's hot, since it burns, I can cook food on it. When it's cold outside, I can warm myself. Now, the relationship that I have with the fire is a beneficial one. It's one of consciousness. It's one of awareness. And this is why, ultimately, this is the good path, is that I get to enjoy fire. I get to have the benefits of a fire. And it is just infinitely better than the other path, with caveats, guys. And so this is also why I say there's only one absolute. I'll get into that in a little bit here. But let's talk about the path of ignorance, right? So using this fire, we'll explain it kind of in a different way. Now, the path, I'll kind of doubling back here for a second here. The path of consciousness, especially in the world and the construct that I'm talking about, it's a little bit more difficult. And these two paths that I have, I've also developed names for them as well, not just the path of consciousness and ignorance, but also, maybe a little bit of glazing here for both sides, but it's just like we have the path of resilience, and then we have the path of strength. All right. And so it takes strength to walk the path of good, all right, to aim, to be conscious, all right, because it takes awareness, and then we have to acknowledge when our aim is off. If our aim is off and we're not hitting the bullseye, on the path of consciousness, we have to acknowledge that we're not hitting the bullseye, that we're sinning, all right? And even on the path of consciousness or awareness, if I'm missing the target completely and I'm straying into evil, I'm going to feel it and know it, and I'm going to acknowledge it quickly, all right? And then redirect my attention, my obedience to the bullseye, because that's where I'm aiming, that's where I'm going, and I'm conscious of where I'm aiming. Now, the reason it takes strength is exactly what I said. Rather than make excuses, we love the truth. We see what we're doing. Okay, my aim was off. I'm going to redirect my aim. All right. And this is why it is the path of good. This is why it's the path of consciousness. It's the path of strength. All right. The path of resilience, all right, the path of ignorance is very, very different. All right. It doesn't take strength to do this. All right, we're just going to keep recording here.
You want to go to Ben's, man?
No, not today. Thank you. Little interruption there, but we'll be good. Like I said, it is what it is, you guys. One continuous stream. So now that we're back, the path of ignorance is a very different path. We assign different meaning to what we're doing. And the reason that I call it the path of resilience is because it doesn't require strength in order to walk the path of ignorance, all right? But it does mean that we're going to be enduring more pain, all right? Let's take the fire, for example. Let's reintroduce this fire. Now, on the path of ignorance, I'm going to stick my hand in that fire, all right? Using the same example as the path of consciousness. I'm going to stick my hand in that fire, and I don't have the strength, or I'm choosing resilience, or just on a soul level maybe, or I just like whatever the reasoning is, all right? Because I tend to think where it's just like the weaker individuals end up being more resilient, all right? While the stronger individuals end up aiming better. It's kind of the situation. And so, when I am on the path of ignorance, I'm going to stick my hand in that fire, and rather than say like, oh, you know what, put things together, I'm going to make a different kind of a story with that fire. I'm not concerned with accuracy, all right? I'm not concerned with truth. Those things, they're not even on my to-do list, all right? I want to feel good. I just want to feel good, all right? And so the initial thing is that, okay, I burned myself. It's the fire's fault, all right? maybe I just got to talk to the fire nicer. Maybe I just gotta coerce the fire, or do something to the fire in order so it won't burn me next time. And so I'll stick my hand in the fire again and it'll burn me. All right, and then I'll be like, oh man, that fire, it's being mean. That's a mean fire right there. All right, that's a mean fire. It's just out to get me. All right, it's the stupid freaking fire. And then this is what the path of ignorance ends up doing, is that we end up creating a story about the fire, or about ourselves, or about everything else. And it's within that story that we end up trapping ourselves in a cycle where we keep burning ourselves. And then we assign different meaning to why we're burning ourselves without ever really coming closer to the truth. All right. In some ways we are. All right. Because it's like a longer path in a lot of ways. All right. But when we continue to walk this path of ignorance, all right, we keep sticking our hand in the fire, we're not going to put it together all the way like in the path of consciousness. All right. We stick the hand in the fire, it burns us, we blame the fire, we blame ourselves, we blame God. There's no association or responsibility for what we're doing, what we're aiming at. It's like I keep looking at the fire and I'm aiming at the fire and I keep sticking my hand on it and it keeps burning me. All right. And I make a story about that fire and I keep burning myself in that fire. And then I just keep aiming at that fire and I keep burning myself. And it just goes on and on and on. It gets too much. It just gets too much. And this is also why the stories can get really intense, and they get to such a degree where it infest society. All right, you guys, like this is how a lot of the, I'll just call it deceitful hierarchies, end up functioning, is that they make a story about why people are getting burned, and it's like a band-aid for a situation which only true consciousness, true strength can achieve. And that when we walk in this other path, this other way, it's like a temporary band-aid. All right, and a lot of religions, in my opinion, end up doing this. Excuse me. Where the path is good to hear, or it feels good to hear at first, where it's just like the fire's burning you because God's testing you. All right, God's testing you with the fire, and that you'll be rewarded eventually. You just got to keep sticking your hand in that fire. I know it's gonna burn, but eventually, it's when you're dead, when in the future, essentially. All right, but in the future, I know it's burning you now, and you keep sticking your hand in the fire, and it's burning you, but eventually things are gonna get better. It's not true. Like the best way to say it is it's not true. It's a story, and that those stories are from a place of ignorance, and so it feels good at first. It's like because it doesn't take strength. I'm just like, oh wow, I don't have to aim differently. I can keep aiming right at the fire, sticking my hand in that, and that there's a reason, and it's the story, and so I'm just going to keep burning myself. And this is why it's the path of ignorance, is that we it's injurious. It's injurious to the self, all right? And in a lot of ways, we are then injuring the people around us too, because we're not helping other people through our presence or through our words or anything, becoming more conscious, being aware of what's really going on. We're stuck in like an illusion, all right? Like different religions, like the Maya, the mitote, the fog, all right, the illusion, this constructed artificial story that we have putting our attention on to explain the lack of awareness of what we're putting our attention on. All right, and so I know that might sound a little bit interesting or weird there, but it is what it is, you guys. It is what it is. And so, coming back to the original thing, when I said, there's only one absolute, right? Walking on this path of the good and aiming for the good, in a lot of ways, that's our natural. Like, I believe to some degree, all right, as a soul, all right, we were born into goodness. We only had perfect aim because we saw that bullseye and we aimed for it and we got it every time. All right. It's the natural divine flow of the universe. This is how life is supposed to flow in consciousness and awareness. Oh, I see this, I'm obeying it, and that's great. All right. There is a lot to learn. All right. Like this is also why I want to frame it this way. There's a lot to learn in the path of ignorance. All right. In many ways, we get to see the disparity, the difference, and it gives us, in my opinion, all right, a greater appreciation for the good path by taking the evil path, by taking the evil path, the path of ignorance, the path of resilience. All right, because it is, like I said before, it's a path of resilience for a reason, you guys. It doesn't take strength. All right, it's the easier path in a lot of ways. The path of evil is easy. All right, but it's gonna hurt, and it's gonna hurt indefinitely. All right. Will there be pain and hurt on the path of good, on the path of aiming? Yes, but in a different context, all right? Every time we hurt on the path of good, all right, we're getting better. Our aim is improving, all right? We're getting closer to focusing on that bullseye and hitting that bullseye. When we're on the path of ignorance, we're not even aiming at the target, all right? We're making up stories to explain and excuse ourselves from consciousness. And so what does that create for us? Resilience. All right. We're being more resilient to the pain. All right. And so it's just kind of an either or situation. And at least for me, I'm choosing, like, I'm on the path of consciousness. All right. To some degree, I have had experience with the path of unconsciousness, of resilience. And it's heavy, you guys. It's heavy. Like I have seen how resilient I truly am. And that's a beautiful thing, all right? It's beautiful to see what I can survive, what I can endure. And I've learned a lot from that path, all right? With that said, it is such a blessing to know I don't have to do that. I don't have to be that. I don't have to survive all of these different things, all right? I don't have to be that kind of an individual unless I'm choosing it, all right, unless that's where my obedience is and that's where my focus is, all right. And most individuals, I would say even life in general, we're going to be redirected to the conscious path eventually, all right. I tend to think of as the evil path, the path of resilience in this way, as a temporary path. We can only take so much pain, we can only go so far. Now there might be individuals who are out there who say, no, screw that. I am going to double down and I am going to be on this path and I'm going to show the world how resilient I am. All right, cool. That's a way to go. All right, that's totally a way to go. And I'm at least from a place where I can respectfully respect that, and I don't have to jump in. I don't have to do anything other than observe that that's not my path, all right? I'm definitely choosing, all right, and focusing on putting my obedience and attention toward the bullseye, toward the target. And in doing so, I am in the divine flow. All right, like this, because what I am talking about on this good path, this is so much deeper than manifestation. All right, because being in the flow, hitting that target, hitting that bullseye, all right, what this means is that I'm in alignment on a soul level. I am in the divine flow. In a lot of ways, I don't even need to worry about, how do I do this, or how is this going to come to me, or what kind of job am I going to have, or what am I going to do? Everything's going to just kind of fall into place because I'm focused on hitting the target. And since I'm focused on hitting the target, I feel it. All right. Like this is why, like, so much on a real level, the heart, all right, our emotional system is here's feedback. All right. It's showing us when we're hitting the target. It's showing us when we're doing evil. And this is also why on the path of ignorance, people who truly walk down the path of ignorance and double down on the path of ignorance, what they eventually end up doing, whether it's for a lifetime or whether it's for an indefinite amount of time, is shutting off their hearts. They shut down the feedback system, all right? And eventually that causes disaster. It doesn't matter who they are, what's going on. But shutting down the heart, all right, the heart center, and attempting, because I want to put it like that, attempting to disconnect oneself from the emotional field is like a protective mechanism in a lot of ways. It's to try and protect us from the pain of burning ourselves over and over and over again, of aiming at pain and then hitting pain, and keeping that horrible cycle going, right? And rather than consciously understanding what's going on, redirecting our attention, taking the strength to recognize that, like, and this is why in many different religions, in many different contexts, this is why it's said this, coming from a like AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, all right, the 12-step programs, because there's more than just alcoholics, all right. But the whole premise of that, the first thing that people do in that is taking an admission that's just like, all right, I'm burning myself. All right, things aren't working out. All right, that admission in itself is a huge step of strength. All right, it's a huge step of strength in order to just admit, whew, man, my life is not working out. I'm in a lot of pain. And the only constant that I'm kind of seeing right now is me. All right, is my choice, is my aim, is my obedience. And so I gotta redirect that. I gotta be willing to be redirected too. And that can get a little bit messy in some ways, because and it's a process, you guys. It's a big process, because I would also say some of these groups, there can be paths of ignorance that are there to capture people, I guess is the best way to say it, where people start to take that admission, all right, where it's just like, man, my life isn't working out. All right, I do see, I'm not hitting the target in my life, and I'm going to take the strong step, and I'm going to admit that I'm doing something wrong here. Some of these groups, religions, organizations, whatever you want to call them, are going to say, wonderful, wonderful, right? We're going to tell you a story. All right, we're going to feed you this story, and this story, it's going to keep you trapped in ignorance, essentially, right? So it's like someone starts to step into conscious awareness, all right, but then they redirect their attention toward the story that they're given, and rather than explore consciousness, rather than explore the way, all right, keep learning, keep going in the direction, keep aiming with consciousness, and using that feedback system, they're going to start to aim at the story, and they're going to trust the story. All right, there's confirmation there. And this is also why you can do that. We can, like, I've done that too. I've joined cults. Okay, I've joined nefarious groups. All right, that masqueraded as groups of light, that masqueraded as the path of consciousness. But when we keep an open heart, when we truly keep an open heart, and we're aware of the feedback, all right, man, this story, I'm still getting hurt. All right, maybe it's better than where I was before, like in dark ignorance, and I've admitted to some degree that my aim needs to be different. But now I'm still hurting. This isn't feeling good still. Then what does that mean? All right, if we're really listening to our hearts and our emotional feedback system, we're seeing that, okay, I gotta keep re-aiming. I gotta find the target. I gotta aim at the target. All right, like and this is also why it's a nuanced thing, guys. There's, like I say, there's only one absolute, all right? But even just choosing and seeing, man, I just want to feel good. I just want to feel like really good. I want to aim at something which is going to sing to my heart, have me feel peace, have me feel better. That's not a selfish thing, all right? And if we're really truly willing and open to receiving that feedback, it's not going to cause us to go into more ignorance. It's going to cause us to go into consciousness. It's going to show us how strong we are, and that we can leave behind any story, any group, any people, in order to re-aim and get the target, all right? To get that bullseye, to be in the divine flow again, all right? Because that's what I see it as, is we're returning to the divine flow in every single way possible. And we've experimented, I'm talking collectively, humanity at this point, but we've all experimented with ignorance, all right? Some individuals are going to keep choosing that for themselves, and that's their path. They still have more things to learn, all right? The question is, are you ready? to walk the path of consciousness? Are you ready to be strong over being resilient? So we'll leave the video at that. Thank you guys. I'm so glad you're here. I know there was that little interruption, but everything was going way too good. I couldn't just stop it. So, we just had to keep going there. So, like I say, guys, we're on unedited footage, one continuous stream. So, thank you for being here. I'm grateful to be part of this process. Thank you for being part of mine. If you like it, give me likes. Give me likes, guys. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. I personally don't hit the bell for any YouTuber. I watch a lot of YouTubes, a lot of channels. Do I hit the notification bell? I don't. If you want to with me, wonderful. Okay, wonderful. I'm usually posting pretty consistently. I want to post every day, but I've kind of fallen out of the habit of it. So we're getting back in the habit. We're re-aiming that. We're re-aiming that because I get a lot of joy out of this, you guys. I really do. And yeah, so thanks for walking this with me, you guys. And we'll keep on aiming, right? All of us together. So peace out. Love within. Catch you on the flip side.